Okay, hopefully this turns into something useful for somebody. So we're gonna start by getting this cover off. Okay, once you're inside of here, there are two tapered shafts that hold this cutter head in place, and they come apart. These are cammed. I don't know the technical name for them. They're cams that lock it on lock the shafts in place. Those tapered shafts. So I think I will get this loose here first. I've got them so they're both up towards the top. So what they tell you to do is to put a piece of wood under the cutter head so that it can't spin. So I've got a chunk of 2x4 here. It has to be where the pressure rollers don't hit it, or else it won't hold it. So let me get that wedged up in there. You don't want it tight, too tight. Don't want to load the bearings up. Okay, so the way these work, you loosen the set screw, and then they're, like I say, they're cammed. So I don't know if that showed or not, but when I rotated it, it came loose. So we will loosen both up. And if it was assembled right, they loosen opposite of the way that the cutter head is supposed to turn. And this one is pretty tight. So that's going to take a little persuasion. So we'll use a punch here. There's a hole in the housing that you can use to, if it's stuck. And I can see a little bit of rust on the shaft, so I guess I'm not completely surprised here that there it goes. There it goes. Okay. Now that both of those shafts are loose, I'm going to go ahead and take the drive belts off here, and I'm going to have to loosen this up a little bit so I can spin that in order to do it. There's not like a proper belt tensioning pulley that you can undo to make that easier. All right, it's the other groove here. Okay, those are loose. So let's get the board wedged back in place here. Okay. Each one of these tapered shafts, there is a bolt that goes all the way through into the cutter head. So when I loosen that up and it starts to come off the taper, it does allow the cutter head to get looser There we go. So I don't know if you can see that, but as I loosen this long bolt, it actually draws the tapered shaft out. So you remove that. Now on the other side, this is a left-hand thread on the other side. So let's again, now that one side's loose, we've got to okay. I've gone backwards here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put that. It'll just set that shaft back in place on the other side. I should have loosened. I should have loosened that before I took it all the way out. Okay, now we'll let this draw itself out. And then this side comes out just like that, just like the other side did. So we've got, now our cutter head is loose. So I'm going to put a pair of gloves on. Even though these knives are kind of old, they're sharp. And this thing is heavy, so I'm going to pull it out of here and set it off to the side. We're going to put our new one in place. Setting it on that 2x4 there so I don't chip up the inserts. And let's see if we can get these. Okay, because of the way that sits, I've got to lower it. This one in. Okay, now I want to get some pressure back on that cutter head. It's not easy to get my fingers in there with these darn gloves on. Pressure off that. Okay. Now it is a little tricky to get this started. I practice by putting my Woodmaster comes with a sanding attachment, and so I did take the opportunity to practice. You know, I haven't had this cutter head in yet. You can, I hope it shows what there's little chunks of styrofoam still all over it. But you do got to make sure this thing stays in the center. Let's see if we can get that to start now. Again, you got to remember you're working with the left-handed thread over here on this other side, which got me when I did this the one time before. Not in far enough. There we go. Got to get in far enough for the bolt to start. Okay, so now that's drawn in. Now I'm going to go ahead and get my pressure back on this. Okay, so you do have to do a little back and forth here because you've got to make your cutter head end up centered here. And my board is not cooperating here. An extension here. Okay, let's see if we can get it centered back up here again. There we go. Looks pretty well centered. Some pressure back on it. Gotta remember the left-hand thread on this side. That's hard to get used to for me. I do not run into very many left-handed threads in my everyday life. Okay. You can really feel when it gets snugged up. All right, we'll loosen it up. And yep, we should be good there. Just need to raise it up enough to get this board out from underneath these feed rollers. Okay, so now we just need to get these cams back in place. So these cams can tighten, they can tighten in either direction. There's, I don't know if that shows, but there's an eccentric cutout there, and they can tighten either way. So it is very important, according to the instructions, to make sure, you know, that you twist it the direction of travel. Otherwise, it's gonna continue to get as the machine runs, it'll continue to get tighter and tighter and tighter, and it'll become so that you can't get it off. So I'm gonna go ahead and put a glove back on here because these things are like razors. And what I'm gonna do is I am gonna push that to tighten it while I tighten the set screw. Okay, and same thing on the other side. And one thing I did become aware of on the other side, since there is a keyway for the pulley that spins the cutter head, you do have to make sure that you're not tightening down on the edge of the keyway, because it will not stay tight that way. Okay, so we've got those tightened back up. Now I should just have to get my belts back on. Okay, those are good. And now it's just a matter of getting the cover back on. Now there is a whole procedure you go through. You know, you run a wide board through and measure it. There is a way to adjust in case you were in a situation where the cutter head was not flat to the bed of the machine. But I do not expect to have a problem there. You know, this machine is made to change over between planing, molder heads, and sanding. And you know, my old cutter head is not gonna go to waste, because I actually have a couple sets of cutters here for a project I've got in the house where I had to match some custom moldings, and they're too big for the cutter head. So I will be setting both of those up in that old cutter head, so that I can run my window molding on one side, my baseboard on the other. So whenever I do that, I'll be sure to post it and let you all see what we're doing. So let me before I stop recording here, let's run something through it, and we'll see how it cuts, or if the whole thing flies out of there and cuts me in half. I guess this video will never get posted. All right, let's see what we got. I don't know how that'll show up on video, but it is a very nice cut, and it is much quieter than it was with the knives. So I got some work to do now, getting some things ready, but that is how you change the cutter head out in a Woodmaster 718 planer. Thanks for watching.